Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll start the Sanhedrin daf Nun Hey. We are going to begin on Nun Hey and Aleph, the third line from the top. Darsh Rav Nachman bar Rav Chisda b'isha shnei mishkavos. When it comes to a woman, a person who is with her, your chayv, whether it's kedarka, shlo kedarka, behema, but a zochar that is with an animal. So mishkav echad, you're only chayiv if it's kedarka, but not shlo kedarka. So maskam rapah b'ada rabba pum fakert isha the urchehi a mishka mechayiv adamida macharina lo mechayiv. Since the normal way of having tashmish is kedarka, so when it comes to a woman, so then you should only be chayiv that way. But behema the lav urchehi mechayiv lahal kol nek v'nekev. Having tashmish in any way with an animal is certainly beyond any realm of being a normal human being. So either way, it's normal. So you should be chayiv either way by a behema. So it should be the pumfakir. Tanya shokadabayu zachar ben tesha shanim v'yom echad. So we had a machlokas in yesterday's daf that a person who has tashmish with a zachar, the question is that boy, are you going to be chayiv? It's depending. When it comes to an animal, it doesn't matter what the age of the animal is. However, when it comes to a child, which is, it's hard to learn this Gemara because we're talking about sick human beings, but this is Torah because these are like laws. There are laws in American law in which it's so vile, you don't even want to utter it out of your mouth. But you have to study it. And this is the same thing when it comes to Torah. This is Metzias. These are potential terrible things that could take place. We need to know how to deal with them in a court of law. So, Torah limud anitzarich. So Zachar ben Tesha Shalom Yom Echad Habal Behema Ben Kedarka Ben Shalo Kedarka. So we see a person who is with a child. It's even Shaloi Kedarka. So we see that one point. Va'isha Hamavias Behema Leha Ben Kedarka Ben Shalo Kedarka Chayiv. So we see Taka that is Zachar ben Tesha Shalom Yom Echad, which is Ba'al with a Behema. You are Chayiv Shalo Kedarka, right? Which is what we said before. That's what it should be. So Ravinu Rava Hamara B'Zachar Mahu. So okay, that's it. So now we have a different question. So Hamara or Hara is usually it's Tchilas Bia. Rashi says Shaloi Gomer Biasai. Ikamad Yaimer and Gemara and Yavamas Zunashikas Aver al Nekev. It's not. It's just the touching of the Aver on the Nekev. Ikamad Hara. It's actually some level of insertion of the aver. Dahabi davar muat, to a davar, a small amount. Miu gabi arayis kaimelon hara kigmar bia. When it comes to arayis, the din is, and we learn out sharia arayis from nida as a hekish, that even hara has the din of gemar bia. It's considered to be a shem bia. The question is, does that also apply when it comes to mishkav zachar? So Gemara says, Hamar b'zachar, when it comes to a male, mishkve isha ksibe. It says, isha, says Rashi, umay kol meboile. What's the question? Says Rashi, kol mechayev b'isha mechayev nami ba. So of course that should be the same din. You'd be chayev even b'hara. Ela hamar behema ma'u. So when it comes to mishkav zachar, even tchilas bia, you're chayev. The question is, how about with bestiality? Normally, we don't need it over there. Because as we said, we already learned everything out from nida anyway about hara is considered kamar bia. It's like kamar bia. So tenu inyan l'hara de behema. So therefore, we say it's the same din when it comes to hara behema. So mechti behema machayvi misas beisan he. Meat when it comes to being with an animal, you're chayv misas beisan. Why is it mentioned hara regarding chavi krisos? Let it be mentioned by chavi misas beisin. V'ligmer chavi misas beisin mechavi misas beisin, and then we can learn out one from the other. Why are we learning out from kares? Says Rashi, lichtav gabi chad me'arayos. Shel Chiyav Misa. So why are we learning out from Chiyav Kares? So Hayab Kuli Kro with Drasha Udasa, because really everything is really learned out from a drasha, the entire pasuk. Ksivanami milsa the drasha. Baminarav Achtavi Bar Amim Rav Sheshes Hamarab Atzmai Mahu. There's an unbelievable kasha. A person who has tashmish with himself, obviously a man shalo kadarka, or Malay Kaf's son. So he said like Sarsani, you're causing me pain. Sheshaltani davar shiyasher. You're asking a ridiculous question. There's a human being, one human being cannot have tashmish with himself. It's just a physical impossibility. So Amar Avashi Mighty Boilach. Obviously, if we're talking about his aver is hard, so then he can't have tashmish with himself. Shlo kadarka. Ki mishkachas shlo betash b'mashmesh meis. If he's able to have tashmish with himself while his aver is not hard. So the question is, if you have tashmish with a woman and you are not erect, so in that situation, it's a machlokas whether or not you're chayiv, because you didn't really have the ability to actually have tashmish. Actually, according to the other sheet, you'd be chayiv too. Mechayiv hashoichev, mechayiv anishkov. You're chayiv for being both the active and passive party. Baminim Rav Sheshes. So again, it's Torah. It's unbelievable that they would ask such a kasha. This is mamish. This is from Torah Hakadaisha, and this is a question, and it shows you the brilliance. It sounds, again, you could learn it and make fun, which obviously shows that you're late. But the point is, it shows Pumfakert, the Kedushas Torah is so unbelievable that they do not shy away from anything. Anything would be asked. It's unbelievable. In itself, it just gives you such an unbelievable sense of chiyus and a sense of emunah, to understand that the chachamim would not have an issue with asking a kasha like that, and putting it as part of Torah Sheba'al Peh is unbelievable. B'amin Rav Sheshes, Oiv Chachamim Habal Behema Mahu. We have an Oiv Chachamim who has znus with a behema. Takala v'kolan be'inan. Do you need both elements of takala and kaloin? Which we'll translate these. We'll get the language better. V'acha takala ika kolan leika. Over here, there was the takala. Takala basically means the person did a sin. Even if you're not someone that cares about any of the 7 Noahide laws, it's still usser. It's considered to be gilui rayis. It's illicit relations. But oivik chavim, there really is no kaloin. They're not embarrassed by it. So if the animal, as you saw in the Mishnah, we don't want an animal walking around like, oh, that was the animal that the guy had tashmish with. They don't care, because that was a davar shchiach by them. Says Rashi. The question is, what do? Do we kill the animal? So obviously by the Mishnah, by the Yisrael, we're going to. Well, it says Rashi, adam takala al yada. First of all, the Mishnah said that there's a takala because they sinned through the use of being with this animal. It's an embarrassment, it's a busha that you're seeing this animal and people are like, oh, that was the animal this person sinned with. There is, as we're going to see on Daf Nun Vav, tomorrow's Daf, Kaloin Leika, there is no embarrassment by them. Darken Bakach, unbelievable Rashi. This is the truth. Then Misbayoshin. They have nothing to be embarrassed about. They don't care. Doesn't matter. And then Rashi says also, even if they do have a shtickle busha, which you hope they would, we don't really care about their busha. It's not a factor into why. Maybe it's not even a factor we would consider. So that's a kasha. What do we do with this animal when it comes to an ovid kachavim? Is it daka by yid or also by ovid kachavim? So again, mahu takala v'kaloin be'inon v'hachadakala v'ika kolon leko dilma takala afal pish ein kaloin. So Rav Sheshes tenisu, we learn ma yilanois madach when it comes to the tree. Says Rashi of an ashera of a avodah zarah. The pasuk says tisrafun be'eish. It has to be completely destroyed. Alma Tekoa, Alma Bishin Koin. So in that situation, we're going to destroy it because someone sinned with this tree by worshiping it, even though there's no koin. So there is an element of tekoa, but maybe not koin. Because it's an inanimate object, and people aren't walking around and saying, "Oh, look at that animal, look at that tree." The tree's just sitting over there, right? So my wonder, they don't eat, they ain't shite, they don't drink, they don't smell, sorry if it destroy the whole thing. Because the Tekoa came through it. So it's Befer says the language of Tekoa. So Hamisoya, it's Chaveroi when it comes to an animal, in which Medarche Chayim with Darche Misa, in which it goes from Darche Chaim Darche Misa Achas Kama V'Kama. Certainly. So that's L'char Zaraya. Hamishtachavel Behemtoi Titzer. So that means also Avichavim who bows down to your animal should be also Mekatel, and we should kill it. We should kill the animal. Mi'ika Midid Yisrael also Avichavim Aser. I understand we wouldn't do this by Yisrael, so we're going to do this by Avichavim. Yisrael Gufa with Sermidi Havi Ariba. So one second, maybe Yisrael would be Chayiv. We would kill the animal because it's comparable to cohabiting with it. So Rabbi knows Zek Kiloina Maruv is a Kiloina Ma'ut. When it comes to having tashmish with an animal and walking around, that's a kiloin, that's a huge busha. However, when it comes to Avodah Zarah, that's a smaller embarrassment. Varilana is saying kilonan maruba. So also these trees, Yom Ratar Hishachas Sar Fakola. So why do we have to destroy it? It must be a riot. No. So when it comes to trees, we'll burn them. They're inanimate objects, even if maybe there isn't necessarily any form of culling. It doesn't make a difference. But it's a tree, so you can destroy it. However, an animal, maybe we'll have mercy on it, and we're not going to kill it by a case of an Avik Chavim. So again, it's not a raya. So Rabbi Omer Amr Taira Behema Nehenis Mevera Tihareg. So he says a different shot. Says Rashi L'Hachil Yalfinan Nevid Menirva. You can't learn out Avodah Zarah to an animal with tashmish. Mishlam Dulo Nehenis Habehema Ma'avera. The Gabi Chavim Habal Behema Karav Sheshes Svirle Da is Hani Ma'avera. That there was hana, an element of hana in this avera. Varilana is saying henes me'aveda, but what do you mean? But by trees, there's no hana. The tree's not getting a hana. Yeah, it's because again, by trees we'll destroy them. It's not a big deal, so we'll destroy them. But to kill an animal, we're not just going to kill an animal without having a good reason to kill the animal. So again, we still are stuck with the kasha. What's the deal when it comes to a Chavim, who's nearby? Says Rashi, it says question number 13 rather. Madua b'ishtachval behemtoi ein habehem neskeles. Why, when it comes to bowing down to an animal, we won't give it skila. Lo yalfin b'mamasin b'riva lisko b'behemo. So he said, according to Abaya, be'inan koin b'ishtachva kamo kolon hanirva. It's not really such an embarrassment. Or l'rava behema shenehenes mavera, the animal got hana tiharig. Lo yalfin and l'nebed we can't let out from Nevid. Okay, weiter. Toshma. Davar acher, shalotehe, says our Mishnah, shalotehe behemoy veris b'shuk, v'yoimru zuhi shenisko ploini al yada. So it's telling us a second reason why we're going to kill this animal. So my love, is it not mashma, as we say, continue now to nun heim and beis? Is it not? Midasei for tekala of a koloin, or talking about those tekala, there was a sin, and this colon an embarrassment. People are going to talk. So Reisha, the first part of the Mishnah, which just mentions tekala, is tekala below koloin. Behechidami, what is the case of tekala without koloin? So what is a case of tekala without koloin? So so we say. So maybe an Ovi Chachamim who's Baal Behema would in fact showed our Mishnah that we would kill the animal because even though there's no kolon, there's still takal. Well, safe the kol v'kolon, safe you raise both. Reisha hakamash when they feel kolon below the kolon nami mechayve. Even if let's say there's only kolon without the kola, that there was really no big sin, but there's still embarrassment. So when there's there embarrassment but no real big sin, in the case you saw haba behema b'shaygeg. Now I don't understand what that means, but we'll just read the words. The person who is boiling an animal b'shaygeg. So because of that, it's an embarrassment. That animal walks around, so we maybe still kill it, but there's no sin because it was done b'shaygeg. The hechidam you saw haba behema b'shaygeg. Boy Rav Hamnuna. The boy Rav Hamnuna. Yisrael haba behema b'shaygeg mahu. What's the din? Takala v'kolon be'inan. Do you need both? V'halcha kolon ika takala leika. O dilma kolon afabi she'ein takala. So here we go. Rav Yosef, famous piece which is in all the sugyas and yavamas and kedushin. Tashma, Bas Sholosham Yom Echad. Once a girl is 3 years old, on her birthday, Miss Kadeshes Babia, she can be Miss Kadeshes Babia. The Imbal Yavam, if let's say she was married and her husband died and they were childless, so you can do Yibom. Kana, it would be a Kenyan. The Chayvan Alehem Mishum Eshes Ish, and she's already considered to be Eshes Ish, like a married woman. Matama Es Boala, and she'd be Matama, the person who she had Bia with. Matama Mishkav Tachtan Ke'el Yoin, regarding the high elements of Tumah, that even if she's not touching the bottom, it's ki'ilu like she's touching it. Nises, that was Erison. Nises l'kayin, when she gets married to a kayin, oichelos betruma. So this bar is brought down over there in kedushin by simpon and things like that. So when she gets married, she can eat truma. Bo'leha echem in a psulin, if one of the psulim or boil her, poslim in a kahuna. And that's how it is, even b'ratzayin, even b'oinus. V'im bo'leha echem mikol arayis hamuris b'tayra, and if let's say any of the arayos have tashmish with her, moimsin al yada, because it's considered to be a shmei bia. Obviously v'hi patura, because when they're sasa davar, and also she's a katana. Echem mikol arayos, it says any of the arayos. V'yafil behemel, chayr means even an animal. V'hacha de kol nika tekala leika. Over here there's kalain, but there's no tekala. Right, because it's not a sin. It's the right. It says Rashi of apox mishol shanim enu bia ve'enu niknas loy, etc. So we said this Rashi latam mishkav elyain shahaboyel nida matami mishkav atachna mishim nishkav afilo nagaim was not touching. Okay, let's see. So let's look at this Rashi. Takala. So over here, v'hahacha dekaloin ika. Takala leika. Why is there no takala? Says Rashi, the la bas ancient he. She's not a bas ancient. Vari he b'chlal shaygeg. She's a katana. So you'll still kill the animal, right? Even though she had tashmish with a behema. So we don't kill her. And she's right. To katani mumsan al yada. That we're gonna kill the animal. So we see we do kill the animal, even though all we have is a case of takal of kaloin and no takal, not really an avera. So kivan de zida he takala nami ika. The truth is she did it b'mezid. Now the truth is there's just a loophole. V'rachmana hu dechasala Allah di dachas ad behema loichas, because she's a katana. So we're makel. The Torah's not going to kill a katana because she's not a bas einshin. But the truth is, she's also did an avera. Since there's a technicality, there's a loophole that we're not going to kill a katana because she's a little girl, but she still did it b'mezid, so it's not a raya. Tashma ben teisha shana yom echad. If you have, as I wrote over here, only the katana isn't punished because she isn't a bas einshin, but still it's wrong to do, and therefore it's still to call. Okay. Ben teisha shana yom echad. So you have a 9-year-old habal yevimtoi, 9-year-old boy who has beer with his yavama. Kana. Venu nice get. However, he's still not able to give her get ad yagdil, until he's old enough to be able to give the get. Says Rashi Shari Alidei Kedushe Achiv Gadol Nesra. The truth is, he's only linked to her because of his brother who died. The Gershin Shalzeh Enan Chashuvin Lafke Kedushe Achiv, the Katan who Venu Ben Das. So the Katan's not a Ben Das, and therefore he can't give a get because it's linked to his brother who was a Gadol who died. So therefore you have to wait until you become a Gadol to divorce her. Umatama Kenida, Watama Mishkav Tachtan Ke'elion, as we said before. Paisel, Ve'enu Machel. What does that mean? Says Rashi, Upaisel as behema mial gabe mizbeach. All right, let's look at this Rashi. Upaisel as isha, he can passel a woman bebiyaso min a truma. Im hu echem min a psuim. If he's one of the psuim, he can passel her shkeni truma. Meinu machel im hu kayin. If he's a kayin who ba oleh l'shem kedushin, einu machil betruma. The katan afal gav de biyaso bia in kinyanu kinyan. Below krinin be kinyan kasboy. The only time that she could eat truma is dafka if she is, if he's a gadol. But since he's a katan, he can't. His bia is a bia, but it's not enough for her to be able to eat truma because it's not kinyan kasboy. Okay, so he can possibly inu meichel truma. Paisel as a behema malgam mizbeach, says Rashi. Mishum nirva, someone who had tashmish, as 9-year-old had tashmish as animal, you can't put on the mizbeach. Going al pi eid echad. There's one witness testifying this. Al pi habalim shein niskoloi shein niseres lehedjit. So we're going to say it's just you can't bring it on the mizbeach and that's it. But we don't have enough to have the animal killed. However, the skelis al yadai. However, if let's say their taka is not just one witness, but there's edim, in that situation, says Rashi, yesh edim de'ein shor v'hem niskom el edim. So it obviously has to be kamisas bal kach misas ashar. So you need to have witnesses. So it's the same thing. If there's a rayas with any of them, so they'll die through him. Over here, there's koloin, but there's no takoa. There's no takoa. V'gatani niskelas al yadai. And yet we still see this 9-year-old is niskelas al yadai. Again, same answer. Kivan demezedhu takoa nami ika. Rachmanu dechas alay oleha dedechas rachmana behem lochas rachmana. The exact same answer. So the truth is that really the katan is just not punished because he's not a ben oinshin. Can't punish him, but he's still an issue of takala. Toshma davar acher shloite behemo iveres b'shok. The animal's walking around. The yammer zuhi shenisko ploini al yada. This is the animal. Mila, but to save the kala of a kala and reisha kala below the kala. Veichidami yisrael habal behema b'shayging. So there's no avera, but it's embarrassment. Lo, save the kala of a kala and reisha the kala below kala. What is that? So we're going around in circles. So basically, it could potentially, our Mishnah is going to answer one of those two questions: takala without koloin or kala without takala. We just don't know which one it is, and therefore it really ends up being like an iboy delivshita. But really, we don't know, and therefore, obviously, we're not going to. I'm not going to say about sila eda, but we save the animal because it's we don't know for sure. Okay, we're going to stop there. Let's look at a couple more questions. Question 14. Bami name Rav Sheshis. Akum habal behema mahu. Bari Rav Hamnuni Yisrael habal behema b'shayging mahu. Mehem study hey boyas im yiskona behema. So, one is because, again, is it you need to colon koloin? But when it comes to these, there's either to colon without koloin or colon without the kala. And therefore, that's the reason why we would potentially distinguish the two. Okay. TA4. Behema shenirba hanergus v'gemara boy imisham takal v'koloin o the sagi b'chad minayu hechem shkach sa takal b'loy koloin kal b'lo takala. Okay, there you go. So this is over and over again. I'm just gonna point a little bit to. Let's see, Hechidami. Let's see, Hechidami. This I'll just put it here. There's a bunch of places, but TA4. One example of Oivik Chavan of all Behema, and we said no. Maybe we're talking the other way is Yisrael Habal Behema B'Shaygeg. So those are the two answers. Let's see what he says. To call below colon is a nachri, colon below to colon B'Shaygeg. That's just how we That's all he says. Okay, maybe TB5. Hamagadif Adkan.